Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Admiral, great to see you. Thank you and your family for your exceptional service. I think you're extremely well qualified. I certainly plan to provide my strong support for your confirmation. I also appreciate what the chairman said about Admiral Aquilino and his wife, Laura. They have also undertaken exceptional service to our country. I hope when your change of command comes that Admiral Aquilino's service to America is not over. I highly doubt it will be over. Let me focus on an issue I know you're focused on now in your current billet. The PRC's focused and rapid naval buildup has highlighted our own shipbuilding deficiencies. Numerically, they now have a larger Navy, roughly 370 ships to our 291 ships. Last year, they added 30 ships to their fleet. 15 were large surface combatants, including cruisers, destroyers, and another aircraft carrier. We added 2. At the same time, the current Biden budget shrinks the Navy. It's going to be shrinking our Navy for some time. If deterrence fails and we go to war in the near term with China, we have to fight with the fleet we have today. You're very aware of that fleet's capabilities. Can you describe the impact of the PRC's naval buildup and how we need to equip the joint force to deter and defeat the PLA Navy today should conflict occur?
So the PLA Navy has been on an historic trajectory these last 25 years. And while I am confident that we would prevail in combat, it is a concerning trajectory.
Are we overmatched in the Indo-PACOM?
We are not overmatched, but I don't like the pace of the trajectory. And in answering the question on the other capabilities that can be brought to bear is we're a joint force that thinks in a multi-domain mindset, and that is the kind of formations in maritime terrain. Those are forces on land that can affect events at the maritime, that can shoot, move, communicate, and impose costs against the naval force to augment the Navy force at sea. And then further, the 21st century capabilities, unmanned capabilities from the seabed to the heavens that can also effect.
Let me, Admiral, sorry to interrupt. I got a few more questions. I want to talk about some of those forces that you're going to be in charge of. While testifying in front of the Congress in 1935, General Billy Mitchell, often referred to as the father of the U.S. Air Force, said this: "I believe that in the future, whoever controls," and then he said a piece of strategic territory, this land, controls the world. It is the most strategic place on the planet." Do you know what piece of terrain Billy Mitchell was talking about?
Alaska.
Correct. Now, with regard to Alaska, you will own the forces in Alaska. That includes over 100 fifth-generation fighters, the 11th Airborne Division of the U.S. Army. Those will be under your command. I like to do just a quick geography test because sometimes even our four-star admirals and generals miss this. Which forces are closer to Japan, the joint force in Alaska or joint force in Hawaii?
Alaska.
How about which forces are closer to Korea? Forces in Hawaii or Alaska?
Alaska, Senator.
And one more, Taiwan Strait. Which forces are closer to the Taiwan Strait?
Alaska, Senator.
Thank you, Admiral. You'd be amazed how many four-star admirals and generals don't pass that simple geography test. So, very quickly, 2 summers ago, we had a joint Russia-China naval task force, 7 ships, that was off the coast of Alaska. We sent 150-foot Coast Guard cutter to intercept it. Was that appropriate? Was that a show of American deterrence?
It was a risk that the joint force took in putting force elsewhere, and it's a risk we'd rather not take.
So this summer, we had an 11-ship joint Russia-China task force, naval task force, off the coast of Alaska. We sent 4 destroyers and P-8s. I think that's a better answer. Could you commit to if we do that again, and they'll do it again next summer with a bigger joint task force, hit them with an appropriate size response?
I will intend to do so, and will do so across the joint force, Senator.
Thank you.
If
Final
confirmed.
question, Admiral. I know you're very well read, very, very smart. Have you happened to read this book, This Kind of War by T.R. Fehrenbach, the classic Korean War history?
Yes, sir. My dear son gave it to me for Christmas when he was at the Naval Academy. I have it on my shelf.
Well, he beat me to it because I was going to give it to you. But every one of your Marine Corps and Army senior officers will have read it. The lesson is very simple in it. It's a great book. I highly recommend it. I give it to everybody who's up for senior positions, particularly civilians who don't know a lot about readiness in this administration. But the lesson is this: 1945, we had the most fearsome, lethal military probably in the history of the world. 5 years later, in 1950, our military couldn't stop a third world peasant army as it invaded South Korea, literally, and thousands of young Americans died in the summer of 1950 because we had weak civilian and weak uniform military leadership. So I would just commend you to read this. Compliments to your son for getting it to you before I did, but it's a really important book, and I worry as we're shrinking the Army, shrinking the Navy, shrinking the Marine Corps at one of the most dangerous periods we've seen since World War II. Not enough members of the Pentagon know what's in this, have read history. We can't repeat history. We can't have another Task Force Smith. And appreciate you taking a look at this book.
I'll reread, and he stole it back, so I'll accept it if you give it to me.
I will give it to you.